Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sports Talks podcast. I'm your host, Sam Portland, and this is Understanding the People Behind the Posts, solo edition. Today I'm doing a short, brief solo cast on self-care for coaches. I was asked a question recently about when do I think that the strength and conditioning industry is at large is going to start prioritizing and encouraging coach self-care. And it was a real thought-provoking question for me. It brought a lot up for me, and really sort of inspired me to come on and talk about this from a very significant standpoint. And I think first and foremost, personally, I believe that there is a very construed notion of what self-care is, and we find ourselves doing because we've got our coach brain. So we want to do stuff. And, you can journal, you can meditate, you can ice bath, you can do all these different things. And, they get banded around as there's this glorification of, look at me, I'm actually looking after myself. But the prescription and the definition that I describe of self-care is knowing yourself and becoming aware. And really, for me, and I say this to everyone that I work with from this side of things, is that the most noble pursuit of mastery is mastery of self. And this is why I believe that lots of coaches stagnate and stunt in their growth is purely based on the fact that they're looking for more information rather than more knowledge about themselves and more information about other training modalities, when I think we can all agree that not a lot has changed in the last 30 years. So I can only talk about this really from my experience and experience that I've had working with the coaches that I have over the last sort of 3 years or so, really. But from my experience, I became valiant in my dedication to my pursuit of becoming one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the world. And from that, what did I do? I sacrificed. I did what I knew the only way of that I thought was right, and the only way that I thought was appropriate to get there, and that was do the work. Everything else became second, really, to coaching and finding my way in the industry and having three jobs whilst earning £18,000 at Wasps. That was my first senior salary, was £18,000, and working with some of the best players on the planet. And from there, my journey of self-care really kind of took a big hit, because I was previously, when I was in the academy and stuff, I was working part-time there and had some coaching gigs and bits and pieces. But when I finally took on the full-time role for that little amount of money while still living at home with my parents, I was getting paid to play rugby still at the time, and I was working as a coach alongside of it. So I had three jobs, and my days were 6:30 till 9:30 most days. Wednesday was the day that kind of like we could take a breathe out for the morning and then go and work again in the afternoon. And then that's where my battle with, like I said, took a real big hit. I remember I had a girlfriend at the time, and I worked on her birthday, and I missed Christmases for people. I didn't go on stag do's and all those fun stuff. And just key events that you just couldn't go to. A, because I was too tired. B, because I was too focused on a never ending lie, and C, really I was lost in actual purpose, because I was trying to find purpose in what I was doing, and I was beating my head against a brick wall because I was trying to be seen and be used and be useful to the coaches in the environment. Oh, we need to be doing this thing this way. And I was doing the monitoring and the GPS, and I was trying to create new things and be helpful, and it was all just met with nothing. And unfortunately, that kind of led to some of my last days at Wasp, and I ultimately resigned. And then everything took a real big turn. Like, my brother died the Christmas after, my older brother, and I was thrust into grief. and in a very tragic circumstances that I don't need to go into, but I was put in a position where it was survive, and I'd been in survival and have been in survival for parts of it for a long time. But then I actually started to kind of fall apart a little bit. And that's when I recognized how important self-care was, because I'd been put in a position where, and we go back to the definition of self-care, that I didn't know who I was. I had a big attachment cut, severed, and I did not know who I was. And he was an older sibling, and and older siblings are very powerful attachments in life. And then that's when it was, for me, it wasn't about, before I would go and get massages, I'd go and sit in float tanks, I would go and do and do and do. When then I was like, well, doing is not going to do anything for me. I have to sit back and I have to peel the layers off and look in the mirror and get to know who I am. And that's been part of my process, and that is the valiant journey of self-care, is knowing who you are at the turn, and stepping into your process and stepping into your patterns and disrupting those patterns in order for you to achieve and get out your own way. Understand your journey, understand your story, understand the way that you do the work that you do, and the way that you form relationships that you do, and how you carry out your existence, because that is the ultimate form of self-care. And it's the one that has allowed me to keep growing and keep moving and keep creating and keep changing, keep leading. And we talk about this in legacy, is that you are the leader of the people in your life, and you do that by ever evolving yourself. But by doing that, you have to go back to all some points and some difficult decisions that you've not really made your peace with. You have to accept, you have to be aware, you have to make these changes and these choices for yourself and the people around you, so you can become the best version of you. And you can only then thrive if you do that. And so it kind of lends itself now into the answer of, well, when do you think coaching and the clubs and the organizations are going to start prioritizing that? And I largely feel, from a surface level, it will be entertained, but to do it to the extent it needs to be done, I don't think so. And do you know why I don't think they want it to happen as well? The system that's been developed, and the way that the cultural structures exist in and around our industry, can't let that happen. Because if they do let that happen, then our industry ceases to exist. And the reason I mean this is, and the reason why I say this, is that when you're getting taught how to coach and you're getting taught all this information, you're taught to be, you're so smart, you're so empowered, you're so enthusiastic. And then when you get into the job market and the real world, that you're, especially in the professional sporting setting, that you're actually a backseat driver in the scenario. So then you have a real antithesis relationship with your role, is that you're actually the complete opposite of what you thought you were. And then all of a sudden, the question of self and the image of self gets put in, and we get put into a nature where we're struggling to find the way out. But the industry needs you to stay there so that they can finance it in that way, and people then become happy. They acclimatize, they adjust, they sit, and because they have the role that they wanted, and the role that they believe that they wanted, the way that they speak about that role. And it's just an interesting thing. And that's why my calling and my call out to you, that if you're listening to this, is that you need to take responsibility for your own self-care and your own development. And it comes back to knowing who you are. And inside the stuff that we do at Legacy, and I'll give you these three questions that we keep going back to. And do you even know who you are? Do you know how you see yourself, and do you know how you see yourself in the world? And if you can really spend time and answer those questions, then you have half a chance of moving yourself forward and empowering yourself to make the decisions that you can. So I just wanted to do a solo cast on that and talk through that, because I think it's really, really important and really powerful and empowering to you listening to it. So if you are listening to it, I hope that you have enjoyed this. If you are listening to this in 10 years' time, please, I hope things have changed, and I hope the industry has changed, and I believe that it has the ability to change. But if you are listening to this trying to make your way in the industry, listen to who you are by knowing who you are. Start having that conversation and moving yourself forward, because then the decisions actually become really, really easy in you moving forward for yourself and the people around you that matter the most. I was on a call with someone recently, and he coaches at the highest level in the country. And he sat there and he said, a lot of my friends are just happy there. It's like, it doesn't do that for me anymore. My reply was, well, they've never been fired. And you soon learn the industry, not when you've been hired, but when you've been fired. That's when you know the ugly head of the strength and conditioning profession. So with that in mind, make sure that you are prioritizing who you are and how you see yourself, doing the things that you need to look after yourself. And when the time is right, please do reach out to me, send me a message on any platform that you want, and say you listen to this podcast and you want to talk to me about what's going on, because I'm here to help you. Legacy, we have a growing group, and at this time we're close to nearly 30 members inside, actively participating, coaching each other, moving each other, and helping each other rise to the top of this profession. And there is space for you if you step up and you put your hand up and say yes. So that's me now signing out. Sam Portland, Sports Talks. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, your effort, your energy, and your dedication to what you believe you are doing is right. So for now, take care. Give us a 5-star. Send this to a colleague. Send this to someone who you think needs it. Send it to your mum. Who knows? And I look forward to hearing and seeing and being involved with you soon. So for now, I'm out of here.